Next order will be Senator Huffines, then Mr. Prather, and then Colonel Allen. This is about education. This is about our future. The federal government has declared war on parents who challenge their school boards, especially with subjects like CRT and sex education. How will you listen to the voices of parents and keep Texas schools conservative? Mr. Huffines?
Thank you. Well, this is where the state of Texas spends most of our money, is on education. What is more important than educating our kids? Really nothing. This is our future. These children are our future. I personally, in my campaign, we've uncovered a lot of documents that CRT is being taught to our government workers at the Department of Family and Protective Services. There's an onboarding document that was brought to us by a whistleblower, for instance, that requires everyone to work for this 13,000-person agency to read this 29-page document, watch videos on CRT, and get tested on it. This is pure Marxist propaganda. It's trying to separate us into different segments of society and let us compete with each other. Well, they've taken that down finally. They have. Well, education, it'll be important and top priority of my administration. I'm a champion for school choice, and I was the one that filed those bills in Austin in 2015. I believe in competition. Competition lowers the price of everything, and it increases the quality of everything it touches, and it's certainly going to do that in a government monopoly like our government school system. Thank you. This is our opportunity to make sure that our future is taken care of with our children, and it will be under a Huffines administration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prather.
You've heard me say it many times. You think I'm being tongue-in-cheek, but I mean it. I think we need to burn the public education system to the ground. It's built on a bad foundation. It's built on the Dewey and Mann system of humanism that elevates man to the point of deity and bowing down to the altar of me, myself, and I. It's an education that leads to socialism, ultimately to Marxism, and so when you see CRTV, I used to work for CRTV, it's hard to leave the V off. When you see critical race theory being brought in, it's just repackaged Marxism. If we kill it now, it just comes back repackaged under another label later on, because that's what this system will continue to foster. It wants to produce Marxists. And then our kids don't have any sense of education, no idea what critical or complex thinking is, because our teachers, God bless you, have not been allowed to educate, to teach, to train, to evaluate, to promote, but you've been told you've got to train for a test that's standardized so we can get money from Washington, D.C., so we can continue turning out little communists. Now, you don't believe me, go to a college campus and see where we're sending them and what's churning out right there. We have a governor that's consistently putting loony leftist, lunatic progressives on the Board of Regents. A man that claims to be a Republican is putting these progressives on our Board of Regents, so that when our kids graduate from these socialist institutions of brainwashing we call public schools, and they go out and they enter into a college or a university, after 4 or 5 years they come out deeply in debt with a degree in undecided. They don't know who they are because we're not teaching them. We've got to untie the hands of our teachers and let them educate. Let them do what they dreamed of doing all through their own school years in molding young minds and turning them loose on the world. We must make sure that the curriculum that is put forth is one of American values, true history, not revisionist history, one that reminds people that civics matters, economics matters, small government matters, and faith matters as well. Folks, we need to incentivize without overreach or reaching in those who choose to homeschool, those who choose to educate their children through co-ops, and we must think outside of the box because let's face it, we're spending $93 billion a year in this state to fund these socialist institutions called public schools. It's time for a change. It's time to stop doing things that we've always done and getting the exact same results, folks. Let's take our kids' minds back. We have a moral obligation to the next generation. I've told you, and I'm telling you, the chickens are coming home to roost.
Thank you, Colonel West. And if you want to pick up your microphone, I think we have some people in the back who said they might be able to hear you better.
Hear me okay? All right. You're looking at someone that's a product of school choice. I grew up in the inner city of Atlanta, Georgia, the old Fourth Ward neighborhood. My parents did not send me to John Hope and C.W. Hill. They sent me to Our Lady of Lourdes Catholic School. And if you read the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx, one of the planks in the Communist Manifesto is the state control of education. And that's where we are in the United States of America. That's where we are in the state of Texas. Many of you have heard me say the most important elected position in the country, it's not president, it's not senator, it's not congressman, it's not governor, it's school board. And that's why when the parents over in South Lake, Carroll ISD, asked me to come over to help them fight against the Cultural Competency Action Plan, we stood up the South Lake Families PAC. And guess what has happened in South Lake? They flipped their school board. When the parents down there in Cy-Fair, the third largest school district in the state of Texas, asked me to come down and sit with them, I sat down, did a video with 3 candidates. They flipped the Cy-Fair school board this past election. That's what we have to do. We have to get out there and work with the parents. I need you to run for school board, and I will support you in running for school board, because that's how we change. School is so important. School choice is the civil rights issue of this generation. And when I think about what is happening, this is cultural Marxism. And we cannot allow cultural Marxism to come in and infiltrate the schools here. I will tell you one of the things, Mr. Mike Morath, who is head of the Texas Education Agency, he can pack his bags because he will not be in that position for long. We have got to reform the Texas Education Agency. We have got to get school choice passed. That was one of the things that I advocated for heavily as the chairman of the Republican Party of Texas. And I find it very disconcerting that we have quote-unquote Republicans that aren't working hard for school choice. The only way that you enjoy the equality of opportunity that this country affords you is through a good quality education. If you don't have a good quality education, you will not have the equality of opportunity, you will have the equality of outcomes, which is what the progressive socialist left wants. So this is so important. The other thing that I need you all to do is find out who is your member on the Texas State Board of Education. And we need to make sure that we have good, strong constitutional conservatives that are on the Texas State Board of Education. No independent school district that wants to teach cultural Marxism will get funding from a West administration. No more progressive socialists on the Board of Regents for our colleges and universities here in the state of Texas. Thank you.
Thank you.